So let's learn about the topic of allocation methods now. So what do we mean by allocation methods? So we are going to store many files on the same disk. Okay. So the operating system has to allocate space to these files on the disk in such a way that the disk space also has to be utilized effectively, and it should also be possible for the OS to access the files quickly. So that is what is dealt with by the allocation methods. So allocation methods deals with how to allocate space to the files on the disk, that is in your secondary memories, in such a way that your disk space has to be utilized effectively. What do I mean by utilizing the disk space effectively is we should not have the problems of external fragmentation or dynamic storage allocation problem. So without any such, we have to overcome all those problems and allocate space to the files in the disk effectively, as well as it should be possible for the OS to retrieve the files quickly. So that is what is dealt with by the allocation methods. There are basically three types of allocation methods, namely contiguous allocation, linked allocation, and indexed allocation. We'll see about each of these allocation methods in detail. So first one is your contiguous allocation. So as the name implies, contiguous means consecutive. So here each block will be allocated a set of consecutive blocks. For each file will be allocated a set of consecutive blocks on the disk. Okay, that means let's say for a particular file, it needs 4 blocks in the disk. If it needs 4 blocks, it might be allocated the disk block addresses 15. If its starting block address is 15, then it might be allocated the disk block addresses 15, 16, 17, and 18. So each file will occupy a set of consecutive blocks on the disk. Okay, so that means the disk block addresses are going to be linear. They are going to be linearly ordered on the disk. So you can understand that clearly by using this diagram. You can see here the directory structure contains the name of the file as well as the starting disk block address as well as the length of the file. Okay, that is very important to note here, because in contiguous allocation we need to know the length of the file for allocating consecutive block addresses. So here, for example, consider the file count. For the file count, the starting disk block address is 0 and its length is 2. So 2 blocks are being allocated, and that is also consecutive. You can see that if its length is 2 and if its starting block address is 0, the next block address also will be allocated to the same file, because that is what is contiguous allocation. Each disk block addresses will be linearly ordered. So take for example the file tr. For the file tr, the starting disk block address is 14. So and its length is 3. So what are the disk blocks which is allocated for the tr file? 14, 15, and 16. 3 disk blocks, 3 consecutive disk blocks will be allocated for the file called as tr. Similarly, take the file called as mail. So the starting disk block address is 19 and its length is 6. Okay. So starting from 19, 6 blocks will be allocated for the file called as mail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Starting from 19 till 24, 6 consecutive disk blocks will be allocated for the file called as mail. So that is how files will be allocated. So this is your secondary storage memory or your disk space. This is called as your disk space, and this is how you have disks. You will have blocks on the disk, and every file has to be allocated some set of blocks depending on its size requirements. And in contiguous allocation, the files will be allocated consecutive blocks on the disk. Okay. So here the advantage is seek time is very, very less, right? You only have to know the starting address of your disk block. Once you know the starting address and the length, you can access any block of that particular file. So seek time is very less in your contiguous allocation, and accessing a file is very easy, even both in sequential access as well as in random access. In sequential access, the file system always remembers the disk address of the last block which it has referenced. So whenever it's necessary, it will read the next block because it knows the disk address of the last block. Next block is going to be very next to the last block. Similarly, if it has to randomly access any block, it knows the starting address. So let's say if I want to randomly access block number I, if I know the starting address is block number B, then block B plus I will give me the address of the desired block. So random access is also easy and sequential access is also easy because I know the starting address of the block, and I also know that other blocks are going to be next to the starting address only. Okay, so accessing a file is very easy in both the file access methods. But the problem here is you will have the dynamic storage allocation problem. What is dynamic storage allocation problem? It is nothing but how to satisfy a request of size n from a list of free holes. Okay, you get a request of size n for a file. You get a list of free holes. See here, as and when you allocate space to the files, in between you get some free holes left. These are called holes. So I have allocated here 14, 15 and 16. I have allocated 19 to 24. In between 17 and 18 are the free holes. But then if some file needs 5 blocks, I cannot allocate this. If let's say if 17 and 18 are the only free blocks available here, I cannot allocate this to uh, so let's say 17 and 18 and somewhere 25, 26, 27 is also free. Okay, assume that all other blocks are occupied and in between you have 17, 18 and 25, 26, 27 free. And let's say another file comes and it requests for free 5 disk blocks. So it requests for 5 disk blocks and 5 disk blocks are free here, but they are not contiguous. They are not consecutive. Just because they are not consecutive, you cannot allocate them in contiguous allocation. This problem is called external fragmentation. Okay. So external fragmentation is space required for a file is there on the disk, but since it is not contiguously present, since it is not consecutively present, you cannot allocate it for the file request. So that problem, external fragmentation problem, is there on your contiguous allocation method. And so that is also called as the dynamic storage allocation problem. Given that you get a request of size n, how to satisfy a request of size n from a list of free holes. So we previously learned that we have two strategies, first fit and best fit. They are the common strategies used to select a free hole from the list of available free holes. You may get many free holes on the disk. So which hole you will allocate to satisfy this request? That is called dynamic storage allocation problem. The second one is knowing the file size. I should also give the file size as input here. Okay, so how to know the file size? That is another requirement and an issue here. And external fragmentation, just now we saw. External fragmentation is you have space available on the disk, but since it is not contiguous or consecutive, you are not able to allocate it to a file. Okay, so how to solve the external fragmentation problem? One way to solve the external fragmentation problem is by using compaction. Compaction is nothing but combining together all the free space which is available. So you may have 2 free holes on one part of the disk, you may have 3 free holes on another part of the disk. So from time to time, the OS will combine together all the free holes available and combine them to form one large hole. So this is called as compaction. Okay, compaction is nothing but effectively combining all the free space into one contiguous space in order to avoid the external fragmentation problem. Now this compaction can be done offline or online. What do I mean by offline and online is after the file system is unmounted, after unmounting the file system, if the OS performs the task of this compaction, it is called offline compaction. And before the file system is unmounted, during normal system operations itself, if this compaction is performed, it is called online compaction. Okay. So, but then when normal operations are performed, if the OS proceeds to perform compaction, then it may have a performance penalty on the operating system. So that is about contiguous allocation method. The next type of allocation method is linked allocation. So in the contiguous allocation method, we had some problems like external fragmentation problem was there. So in order to avoid that, we have this linked allocation method. It solves the problems of external fragmentation. Now just to see this diagram. So in this linked allocation method, what we do is we are not allocating space, we are not allocating disk blocks to the file contiguously. Okay, we are going to maintain pointers. Okay, each file will be a linked list of disk blocks, and the disk blocks may be scattered anywhere on the disk. Okay, each file is a linked list of disk blocks. Disk blocks may be scattered anywhere on the disk. See here, we have a file called Jeep, and we have the starting block address is 9. Okay, see the starting block address 9. 9 is containing a pointer to 16. 16 is containing a pointer to the next disk block, which is 1. 1 is containing a pointer to the next disk block, which is 2. 2 is containing a pointer to the next disk block, which is 25. Then what will the directory structure maintain? Directory structure will maintain a pointer to the first and the last disk block of the file. Okay, directory structure will maintain a pointer to the first disk block, which is 9 here, and the last disk block, which is 25 here. Then what will be there in 25, the last disk block? Usually all the disk blocks will contain pointers to the next disk block, but the last disk block will be storing the value null. Okay, it may be storing an end of file entry. This pointer may be initialized to null, or it might be storing a end of list pointer value. Okay, that is about linked allocation. So instead of storing disk blocks to the file consecutively, here it can be scattered anywhere on the disk. And how will I know the address of the next disk block of a file? Each disk block will contain pointer to the next disk block of the file. And the directory structure will maintain only the address of the first disk block and the address of the last disk block. So this is just a logical representation of how that every block will be there. Each block will contain data of its own, as well as a pointer which points to the next disk block. So here we don't have any external fragmentation because the space can be anywhere present on the disk and the OS is going to make use of that space. So there's no external fragmentation, and so there is no need for compaction also. And we can also reduce, the blocks can be clustered into groups, and by that we can improve the efficiency. So one implementation of this linked allocation is being done in the file allocation table. We know that file allocation table, FAT, is a type of file system which is being followed in older versions of Windows operating systems. So this file allocation table makes use of a variation of this linked allocation. So in this file allocation table, here this table has one entry for each disk block. So here you have a file allocation table, and this is your directory entry. So you can see that this directory entry contains the block number of the first block of the file. Okay, starting block. It contains the block number of the starting block of the file. So here the block number of the starting block is 217. The 217 contains the block number of the next disk block. So it contains 618. 618 in turn contains the block number of the next disk block. So the last disk block in turn will have a special end of file value to indicate that it is the last block. Here the last block is 339. So 339 will store a special end of file value as its entry to indicate that it is the last block. So this is one variation of the linked allocation, which is called file allocation table FAT, which is being maintained by the Windows operating system. So here each directory entry will contain the block number. The directory entry will just store the block number of the first block of the file. So next type of allocation method is called as indexed allocation. We just now saw linked allocation. In linked allocation, each block contains pointer to the next block of the file, and by that we avoided fragmentation. We are also able to avoid the size declaration problem. In contiguous allocation, we need to previously know the size of the file. Then only we can allocate space for the file. But then we don't have to declare the size in linked allocation. So those problems are avoided. But then you have the problems like so the problem of maintaining the pointers tends to be an overhead in linked allocation. Okay, though it solves the problems of external fragmentation and size declaration, your pointers to the blocks, the pointers, if you have to do direct access or random access, right? What is random access? Randomly accessing any block of the file. Random access or direct access is not efficiently supported in your linked allocation. Okay, let's say randomly if I want to access some block of the file, I cannot access it randomly. Again, I have to start from the first block, traverse the pointers one by one, and then reach the desired block. So this traversing of the pointers is very difficult because the blocks themselves are scattered all over the disk, and the pointers to the blocks also are scattered throughout the disk. So I have to retrieve the pointers in order, and then only I can find my desired block. So direct access or random access is not supported in linked allocation, and that is your problem in linked allocation. And to solve this problem, we have this indexed allocation method. So in indexed allocation method, to solve the problem of traversal of pointers for random access, it maintains something called as index block. So what is this index block going to contain? All the pointers of a file. All the pointers of a file will be collected and stored in one location, that is called as the index block. Okay, all the pointers of the file will be collected and it will be stored in one location, that is called as the index block. So this is your logical view of the index block. You can see that the index block just contains the pointers to the actual data blocks, and all those pointers of a file will be maintained in order inside the index block. What do I mean by in order? For the first disk block, the address will be in the first entry of the index block. Second disk block of the file, that disk block address of the second disk block of the file will be there in the second entry. So it will be, pointers will be maintained in order. So this shows an example of indexed allocation. You can see here that the directory entry just stores the address of the index block, and you can also identify that index block is also maintained on the disk. One block on the disk is reserved for the index block, and this index block is just going to store list of all the pointers for the file. Okay, you can see that list of all the pointers for the file is maintained in order. What does it mean? The disk block of file number, the first disk block of the file will be stored in the first entry. Second disk block of the file will be stored in the second entry. Third disk block will be stored in the third entry, and so on. So you can see here that index block address is 19. This contains pointers to all the disk blocks of the file. There are 5 disk blocks for this file called as Jeep. The disk blocks are, the pointers are pointing to 1, 9, 10, 16 and 25. And what does this minus 1, minus 1, minus 1 indicates? This minus 1, minus 1 indicates null, which means that once you allocate an index block, let's say if the file needs to store only 5 pointers, even though it needs to store only 5 pointers, if the size of the index block is large enough to store 8 pointers, the remaining pointers will be assigned as null. Okay, so this file, in this case, it needs only 5 pointers, and so 5 pointers, 5 pointers to the 5 disk block addresses are maintained, but then the remaining 3 entries are initialized to null, indicating that they are not pointing to any disk block. So this is one disadvantage in your indexed allocation. Okay, next is about the indexed allocation issues. So we are able to have direct random access without the problem of external fragmentation. Directly, randomly you can access any file because you have an index block now, which maintains in order the pointers to the disk blocks of the file. So direct access is supported in indexed allocation. But then we have the overhead of maintaining the index block pointers. Okay, sometimes the pointer overhead of that index block becomes greater than the pointer overhead of indexed allocation itself. Why? Because just now I told you, even though this file needs only 5 pointer space, this index file is large enough to store 8 pointers, and so the remaining 3 pointers have become wasted here. They are just, even though 3 pointers are null here, but still one index block is utilized. There may be some other case where the file needs only 2 pointers. If the file has only 2 disk blocks, it may maintain only 1 pointer. So then all the remaining space of the index block is going to be wasted. That is called pointer overhead. So that is one disadvantage here. The second disadvantage is how large can the index block be. If your index block is too small, then you will not be able to hold all the pointers of your file. If your index block is too large, just now we saw that some amount of pointers are going to be pointing to null, and it's going to be wastage of space inside the index block. So for that, we have 2 different types of options. One is by using linked scheme, and the other is by using multi-level index scheme. So in linked scheme, we'll have one index block which will store one disk block, and whenever you want some more space, you will have a pointer which will point into another index block. Okay, let's say if your index block capacity is to store 50 block addresses, 50 pointers, you will store that 50 pointers in the index block, and whenever you need some more space, have a linked list scheme with a pointer pointing to the another index block. So that is called linked scheme. And the second scheme is by using multi-level index. Multi-level index means we use a first level index block, which in turn will point to a second level index block, which in turn will point to the actual file blocks. Okay, for example, if I have 4096 byte blocks, so what I will do is I will store 1024 pointers in an outer level index block. Okay, in the first level index block, I will store 1024 pointers. Each of those 1024 pointers will be pointing to 4 bytes. Okay, so 1024 into 4, we will get 4096 bytes of data stored in the first level and second level index blocks. And the second level index block will point to the actual desired data block of the file. So this is called as multi-level indexing scheme. So with this multi-level indexing scheme, we are able to control the problem of the size of your index block. Even if your size of your index block is small, we can adjust the size by using this multi-level index. So that is all about the different types of allocation methods.